Yeah! What's going on, guys? I go by J2ATV. Welcome back to the channel. As you guys know, the long-awaited drop of the live-action Avatar series is finally upon us, guys. We're gonna go through so much content, breaking everything down. But today, I just wanted to make a quick video to just kind of give some of my initial thoughts on things I noticed, things that stayed the same, my opinion on characters, storyline changes, everything. Like I said, there's so much content, we're not gonna be able to fit it in this one video. But I thought, you know, since I haven't posted in a little bit, like I didn't want you guys to think like, oh my God, what happened to him? It's like he had all this build up to the show dropping and then he just ghosted us, you know what I'm saying?
We are from MTV show called Ghosted, and we wanted to know, how come you've been avoiding this young lady?
I never seen that man in my life.
What is your problem?
Make sure you guys smash the like button and subscribe. We are still trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, guys, as soon as possible and grow this page. Any support, I greatly appreciate it, so thank you guys for subscribing. There are going to be major spoilers if you haven't already watched the series. I watched it all the way through. Click off now if you don't want to get spoiled, but you probably already knew that. I thought the series did a really good job starting off with exactly how we predicted it in a previous spoiler video that I had done. They did end up changing the beginning to the series, and they started off with the attack and the genocide on the Airbenders. Again, like I mentioned previously, it makes a little bit more sense to do it that way, especially for viewers that might be new to the series. Starting it off, instead of having things happening and then going back to it like they did in the original cartoon, I thought that that was just a nice change and not necessarily better than the original, but it's something that made sense and was a nice touch. I also like the fact that they started off the very first scene with an earthbender. And some of the trailers, the previous trailers that we saw, we got to see airbending a bit, we got to see waterbending, we got to see firebending, but not a lot of earth. You know, there's not really that many earthbenders in general in the first season of Avatar, so to have it start off right off the bat to show kind of some of the graphics for that bending, I thought was pretty cool. And then also, it just added a little bit of intrigue to it as well. You know, I remember I was watching with some family and friends, and I remember thinking to myself, like, who is this guy? Who is this person? Whatever. And then, you know, they transition into the Ozai scene, which we'll talk about a little bit in a second. But I thought it was good to show off, again, the bending, some of the bending, and also just build a little bit of intrigue in the beginning for fans that may have come from the original cartoon. And then, so yeah, speaking of the Sozin scene, I thought the Sozin scene did a really nice job of setting the tone shift for the Netflix series versus the original cartoon. In the original cartoon, it started off a bit goofier and lighthearted, more true to, you know, how an actual childhood cartoon would be, and then kind of introduced some of the more mature themes later down the line in other seasons. Whereas Netflix had already previously stated, hey, this is not the original series, we're doing our own thing, but paying homage and gonna be respectful of the original source material. And I thought that physically showing on camera Firelord Sozin burning this earthbender alive and actually showing that in good detail was kind of, first of all, it was a cool shot, but also it kind of demonstrated that darker tone shift that Netflix is taking to, in my opinion, appeal to a bigger, wider audience, and, you know, kind of also establish that it's not the original source material. So just something right off the bat also that I noticed is the different opening. Obviously, they didn't have Katara reading the opening theme, and even the dialogue and the things that they were saying in the opening theme were different. That being said, they did keep a lot of things musically the same. I'm sure a lot of you noticed that the ending credits theme song stayed the exact same, like literally the exact same from what it was in the cartoons. And also some of the major character theme songs stayed the same. For Zuko, some of the Iroh, when they had the scene where Iroh was singing Brave Little Soldier Boy when his son passed, they kept that exactly the same. Even the scene where Katara and Sokka come across the Lover's Cave and the Hawaiian people are kind of out front playing their song, the Secret Tunnel, that was exactly the same as well. So I thought that was really cool, you know, Easter eggs for some of the fans, the OG fans of the original content, to sprinkle some things like that in there. You know, you even get, you know, not music related, but you do get a My Cabbages moment a couple of times sprinkled throughout. And I thought just little things like that, like make a live action adaptation to a cartoon or another series like crisp. In addition to the music, there were also a lot of shots that were directly taken from the cartoon. Like if you fast forward to the end of the live action season 1, there's kind of a scene where Katara is fighting Master Paku and he leans back and the ice disc kind of goes by his face. That was directly taken from the original source material. There's also another scene, kind of famous scene from the original cartoon, where Iroh and Zuko are kind of having this father-son moment where Iroh expresses his love to Zuko and Zuko kind of receives it in a positive way when he's getting ready to go off of the ship and go find Aang, and Iroh's kind of telling him like, don't forget your training and stay warm and all this stuff, and he says like, I know uncle, and that whole thing. That they kept that the same. I really like that. It was nice. So yeah, there was a lot of musical and visual things that translated over that they kept the same and kind of again sprinkled in as little Easter eggs for the OG fans. The graphics were absolutely amazing. Like the graphics team and the costume design and kind of like the world building, all the things that are around, they get an A+ in my book. I thought a lot of the bending looks really good. Water bending, fire bending, and even the air bending are probably the strongest. Earth bending is really hard to do, so that would be the weakest for me, but it still doesn't look bad. Like I think it looks about as good as you could possibly get with modern CGI, and the landscapes and the visuals that you get are absolutely amazing. They look real almost. Not only do they look real, but they're also very well adapted from the cartoon. and you can easily identify different places. Like Kyoshi Island looks like Kyoshi Island. The northern water tribe looks like the northern water tribe. The southern water tribe looks like the southern water tribe. Like all these different things, they all came together in a very visually appealing way that stays true to the cartoon, but also makes sense for what it would look like in real life. We also had some really strong acting performances and some really kind of trash acting performances, I'll be real. Like, when we get into the characters, I think some of the best character portrayals that we've seen so far in the series would be Ozai. Firelord Ozai is absolutely amazing. Firelord Ozai doesn't appear at all in the first season of the cartoon, but I think it was an interesting touch, and not even one that I'm necessarily against, to have him and Azula kind of show up a bit in the beginning of the series, because, it kind of makes sense, like, yo, this is the bad guy, we got to introduce him, and this is what it's kind of building to, where in the cartoon, you have more time and more episodes to kind of allude to certain things and kind of like slowly unravel, which you can't really do in a live action series. But I think his portrayal, not only is the evilness of his character played well, and he also has like the physical appearance that is very similar to what I think Ozai would look like in real life, but also the acting is very on point. And honestly, the best acting and character portrayal that I've seen so far in this series would be General Zhao. I think General Zhao, the acting for General Zhao is very spot on, like all the way down to the cadence and the way that he speaks. Like some of the interactions that he has with Zuko, kind of that arrogance and cowardice at the same time, the hot-headedness. I wish they would have kind of shown the interaction that Aang had with Zhao and kind of showed that whole thing, but again, I get that they don't really have time for that, but I think that would have been cool because that's one of my all-time favorite fights in the entire series. I think I ranked it in the top 10 for my top 10 Avatar: Last Airbender fights in the cartoon. Another sleeper for some great acting and a character that grew on me is Sokka. I think a lot of the writing for Sokka's character is spot on, like he's a beloved character from a lot of fans, like of the series, cartoon and otherwise, and he's one of those few characters that you just have to get right. Like obviously you got to get Aang right, he's the main character, but I think Sokka would be second up in that list of like, you got to get this guy right. I think some of the jokes that they put in, the timing of it, and just kind of how he interacts with the group, I think is really true to him, and I like it a lot. I think I would like to see a little bit more of the wit of him and the intelligence come into play. They had a little bit where they showed him with the mechanist, but I'd like to just see a little bit more of that side of his personality portrayed in the rest of the live action series. And my bottom two in terms of acting, I would have to say probably Katara. I don't know why, like I just don't buy her as Katara. Like Katara's a hard character to play, but I just don't really care for her as much. I don't think she's a terrible actress, but I don't think that she's really selling Katara's character, and I'm not buying in as much. I don't really care for her character that much. And then I would also say another bottom character for me would have to be Azula. I don't like anything that they're doing with her character at all. I'm going to make a separate video about this where I completely focus entirely on this, so I don't want to say too much right now, but I don't like any of the dynamics that they've changed between her, Zuko, and Ozai's relationship. I don't think that she necessarily looks like her or portrays the evilness and just kind of straight up darkness to her character. They kind of made her this angsty teen that's like fighting for daddy's attention, which just isn't really who she is in the cartoon at all. But, again, maybe that's more of a writing issue that I'm translating into acting, but just not a fan of her character overall. So yeah, just kind of winding down here, last couple thoughts. I think the power scaling so far in the show has been really good for most characters. I really like how they are showing the progression of Katara's waterbending. Like they didn't just make everyone OP in the beginning. They're kind of trying to, transition into the power scaling as much as they can. And they did show that, kind of the build up to Katara's improvement skills versus fighting Master Paku versus when we first hear in the beginning of the series. But they did make Aang OP, like he's flying around. They had that scene where he was holding two boulders over his head and they tried to make it look like he was straining, but he really wasn't when he was fighting Boomy. And I think they made him a little bit too OP. Like he's grabbing keys in the air and stuff. Like, I don't know. Well, at the end of the series, if they don't fix the power scaling now, he's going to be the absolute most OP bender of all time. But we'll see what ends up happening. Some of the pacing and the writing, I think, is just a little bit off. Like sometimes some of the pacing seems a bit too fast, and I understand that with this type of series, you have to fit so much content that OG fans are expecting to see in the series, and of this 30-minute cartoon into an hour-long 8-episode season. I get that, but sometimes it just felt like a little bit too fast. I think they did a good job in the beginning, but then other parts, like certain things are happening, I'm just like, how did we even get here? Like some things were a bit lazy with the writing, I think, like just to have that out, to completely cut out the, they could do it later on, but I'm gonna assume that they're not. To have the owl from the library just appear in the spirit realm, like I thought that was a bit lazy. Some of the other writing in terms of just the way that they speak, I think is a bit off sometimes. Like sometimes they'll say an extra word that's just not needed, or it just makes it like a little bit corny. Like I don't ever remember in the original series there ever being like that there was a goofy, like more light-hearted nature of this series, but I don't ever remember feeling like, oh, that was corny or cringe. And like there's a couple of those moments in the writing for me in this series, but I mean, to be expected, it's Netflix. Again, like so much more content I have to cover, but again, I will do a completely separate video about all the things that changed, all the things that stayed the same, because there were some major changes that they made to this series versus the original. One of the biggest ones being Katara and Sokka somehow like going into the spirit world with Aang. I don't know necessarily if I like that or if that even makes sense for going forward in the series, but there was a lot of things that stayed the same and a lot of things that changed. I'm sure there's going to be mixed opinions on this series. I'll be really interested to see what you guys think though. Head down to the comments and let me know. Are we feeling this new live action adaptation of Avatar so far for season 1? Do you think it deserves a second season? Also, let me know what other types of videos related to the live action series that you guys would like me to see, or just anything in general that you guys would like to see on the channel. Make sure you like the video and smash the subscribe button for your boy. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, please, guys. You might not think it helps, but it really does help the channel grow a lot. As always, thank you guys so much for all the continued support and watching my videos. Until next time, J2A TV out.
You could be my queen, is you with it or not? Too many times I feel like I'm out of love. Is you really rocking with me or is it a dub?